Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Implant Practices podcast. I'm your host, Philip Gordon, and today it's a great honor for me to introduce Chip Vagnoni. Chip, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks.
Chip, I'll let you kind of tell your story here in a minute, and kind of tell me a little about your company. But you're the marketing manager for the ACTEON Group, is that right?
Yes. So for ACTEON North America, marketing manager, but I wear some different hats. So as marketing manager, I kind of own the marketing direction for ACTEON North America. So it includes working with different KOLs. It involves dealing with the dental trade magazines, the different dealers that we deal with, owning the marketing budget. But a lot of my time, I also own product management responsibilities over the equipment range of ACTEON. So it's all the small equipment, which includes the Piezotome Cube device.
Okay. Yeah. So today we're going to focus on the Piezotome Cube device. ACTEON, the ACTEONGroup.com, you guys have a lot of different products, and you guys sell those through distributors, correct?
Yes. So we work with all the major dealer distributors like Henry Schein, Patterson, Benco, all the major, and some of the smaller dealers as well throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Excellent. So you guys have a lot of equipment. Obviously, this is an implantology podcast. You guys have some 3D imaging. You have the air sprayer with the cleaner. What's the name of that again? I'm trying to think of.
That's the Air and Go.
The Air and Go.
Air and Go air polisher.
Air
yeah.
polisher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys have some other imaging devices. You have but what I really wanted to zoom in on today is the Piezotome Cube, and that's your high-powered piezotome, which in my opinion is the best in the market and is a great instrument for implantologists to get into. But first, I want to dive into just a little bit about yourself. Why don't you tell me kind of, where your upbringing was, how you got into the dental field, and then kind of what's going on with your day-to-day operations in your job right now?
Sure. Well, actually, by trade, I'm a physical therapist. So I do have a medical background, not necessarily in dental, but I did do physical therapy for a few years. Got into sales, actually, physical therapy products, which led to my road of medical sales, and from there, I went into product management with a medical equipment company. And then from there, I made my way into dental in 2007 when I joined ACTEON as a product manager. And that was, I just had my 12th year anniversary with ACTEON. So I've been, started as a product manager with just I actually was brought on board to help launch the Piezotome 1 device, which is our entrance into the piezoelectric surgery market here in the United States in 2007. So I was brought on as product manager for that role and just kind of took on different roles and responsibilities. And here I am 12 years later as marketing manager and still also, owning the product management responsibilities for the Cube.
Excellent. So you're in charge of the small equipment. Obviously, we talked about there's an air polisher, ultrasonics.
Yes.
Some other things going on. We're going to focus on the Piezotome Cube. Where are you based out of?
So the U.S. Headquarters is in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia and in South New Jersey, and near the Cherry Hill area, if you're familiar with it. And then globally, we are located, ACTEON's global headquarters is in Marignac, which is right near Bordeaux, France. So an area where makes great wine and great dental equipment. So that's where most of our small equipment manufacturing is done there. And then our 3D CBCTs are manufactured in Milan, Italy. And then we also have manufacturing of our intraoral cameras, which is in Marseille, France.
Well, it sounds like we need to take a little road trip to the manufacturing because Bordeaux and Milan are on my to-do list. So
they are nice areas.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. Let's dive into the ACTEON Cube itself. My introduction to the Cube was from the Implant Pathway Clinic that I teach at with Dr. Justin Moody. They've got a bunch there for the participants to use. And I was trying that there one day, and I thought, wow, this is a whole different piezo. This isn't my dad's piezo anymore. I thought, this is a whole different beast. We need to talk, and we need to get into this thing. So, looking forward to our chat today, and let's just talk about, what is the cube? I think when you talk about here the piezo cube, people don't know what that means. What is that, and what exactly is ultrasonic bone surgery? What is that for people if they're not familiar with it?
Yeah. So the technology is similar to that of a piezo scaler. But that's where the similarities end in it. The technology is piezo. So there's ceramic discs in the handpiece. But what we've done is we've tweaked the technology. We've really obviously ramped up the power. So a lot of people ask, oh, can I put an extraction tip on my? I got a piezo scaler built into my chair, and the answer is no, because the technology is quite different. We boosted the power probably 3 to 4 times of that you get out of the power that a piezo scaler puts out. What we've also done is we modulate those vibrations. So you get those high frequency, it's an ultrasonic vibration, but we modulate that vibration high and low bursts of power. So it's almost like a jackhammer. So there's high and low frequency and power that actually makes the cutting efficiency much better. And because it's ultrasonic, you get that selectivity of the cut where it will only cut hard tissue, i.e. bone, but spare soft tissue like nerves, arteries, Schneiderian membranes, gingiva, those sorts of things. So you can do flapless extractions.
And I think that's the whole key there. You said it avoids the soft tissue. So that's a huge positive when you're talking about surgical cutting, whereas the surgical burrs do not bounce off those. They keep going right through them. So it's good to have something that is soft tissue friendly. The problem is in the past is they weren't very good at cutting bone. The previous generations of piezo, it took forever. It seemed like, it just wouldn't cut efficiently. And when I tell you, you guys really increased the power outage, I'm impressed. I don't have the patience to sit there and open up a lateral window for 15 minutes or take a tooth out for that long. I mean, I want that thing done in about 3 seconds. So it's when I'm impressed with the power of this thing, it does its job well. I'm really impressed with the output.
Yeah, we've tripled the power of the previous piezotome that we had, so we put that in output power wattage. So the first piezotome we had was put out about 20 watts of power of the handpiece. The piezotome Solo, which was the predecessor to the Cube, put out 60 watts. This particular device has 30% more power than that. So this one is putting out about 70 watts of power. And what that means to you is a faster cut, but it still has that predictability where you're not going to damage the soft tissue. And when you're using it the right way, there is no risk of burning the bone, because some people say, well, you've increased the power. Is it going to be as safe? Is it going to burn bone? Is it going to damage anything? And the answer is no. We've increased that power, and we have clinical studies that show that it's just as safe as previous versions of the piezotome.
So I think the clinical uses are awesome, but some people might still think, why would I want this in my practice? What is this going to add to my arsenal? Obviously there's a cost and an expense with everything. There's a learning curve. What do you tell somebody who says, I've got someone like me who said, look, I've got a high speed and a burr. Like, what do I need this for? And what's the advantage over the old school way, I guess?
So everyone wants to do things that are more minimally invasive, and patients are really on the lookout for, how can I get this procedure done as minimally invasively as possible so I can get back to my daily activities? When can I get back to work? When can I get back to school? And the answer is that the Cube in particular is a very minimally invasive way to perform surgeries, whether you're doing the extractions, sinus elevations, ridge splitting, because it doesn't cut away as much bone. And obviously the selectivity of the cut, you're not going to, the chance to damage soft tissue like a nerve or an artery is much lower as well. But there are studies that show that patients experience 50% less pain and swelling after procedures with the Cube than traditional methods of surgery. It's more minimally invasive, and patients can get back to what they want to do a lot faster than with traditional methods of extraction and surgery.
Yeah, and I think that's what, a lot of times my patients, ask me every surgery, when can I go back to my normal routines? When can I go back to work? How much pain medicine am I going to need? How am I going to feel the next day? I think those are important things anymore, because I think, once you get past the point of, can I do this surgery? Will it work? The next part is, how can I make it to where it's less traumatic for the patients and speed up their end, right? Because that's what you want is predictability, less less negative results with your surgery, less swelling, less infection, less problems, less that I have to go in and revisit that site later. So I think anything that's going to make you an efficient, more skilled surgeon is going to give you good things, obviously on the front end, but also the back end of your surgery. So that's good. Tell me what exactly this device can do. When people think about piezo, I think a lot of traditional people, they think, well, maybe I'm just talking about taking out teeth. What are the traditional procedures that an implant dentist might be looking at using this for? Obviously, maybe getting out teeth is one thing, but someone could say, look, I'm really good at getting teeth out. I could see using that sometimes for that. But what are some other really common procedures that this might aid somebody in?
Sure. Well, like you said, probably the number one thing that people are using this for are extractions, because of the preservation of the socket. Obviously, preservation of very thin buccal bone, especially in the aesthetic zone, where you're not going to, the risk of, fracturing that buccal bone, as opposed to using something like a forceps, or, even in the posterior areas where sometimes in the past where you've used a burr, where you'd have to grind away a lot of bone to get that tooth out. With the Cube, you have very thin tips, like our extraction tips, which preserve that buccal bone and preserve a lot of that socket, which facilitates immediate implant placement, which I know a lot of dentists are doing, but it's not just an extraction machine. It can do other procedures like sinus elevations. Obviously, we have studies that show that the rate of perforation of the Schneiderian membrane is drastically reduced when you use piezoelectric technology, as opposed to traditional methods like a handpiece. We have tips for doing ridge splitting. We have tips for doing crown lengthening. We also have tips that allow you to do osteo-assisted orthodontics without doing a flap. You can actually score the bone just by doing incisions in the gingiva, and you get those effects of rapidly speeding up the time of patients in braces. So it's a very versatile machine that will grow as the skills of the surgeon grow by doing more and more procedures.
Yeah, so if it's something that you're not doing those procedures now, obviously, maybe as you become more comfortable with the piezo, that might expand the clinician's comfortability in doing a ridge split or a sinus graft, because they might think, I don't want to do a ridge split because I might traumatize the nerve, or I might cut away too much bone. So this might help people get over those fears or common mishaps or mistakes with that, or with the sinus lift. I know a lot of people maybe either haven't been trained enough on it, and or they're just afraid of perforation. So this would be a way to avoid complications and increase your learning curve, hopefully with something that's a little more safe for the patient and safer for the dentist, I think, too.
Exactly. That's something that we talk about every day, and that our reps are talking about every day to different clinicians that are asking about the technology.
So obviously this is a dental implant podcast, and I'm a general dentist. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the types of people that are in the market that would benefit from something like this. My immediate thought is any general dentist who's wanting to get into surgery. Obviously.
Right.
So come talk about who benefits from this. What's your guys' biggest market growth is now and in the future, and kind of where you see this direction heading. Right.
So, the specialists were definitely the early adopters of this technology with Piezotome. In the past, we relied on the periodontists and the oral surgeons. And, for this technology, they might, somebody that may have bought it in the past because it's the new technology and then found out, like you were saying earlier, that, hey, this just isn't powerful enough. It might be time for an upgrade, because the Cube is 3 times as fast as our device and a lot of our competition on the market. But that market, a lot of those specialists, they either have our device, have our competitor, or they're just not adopters of the technology. But we know now that there are over 40,000 dentists, general dentists in the United States that are doing implantology. This is a great way for them to make their procedures, particularly if they're doing extractions and immediate implants, less traumatic, preserve that socket, do less trauma and less pain for their patients, and provide a more compassionate care to their patients, and really make their implant practice a better one.
Yeah, no, I think as the skill of the surgeon grows, so should the instrumentation that they're using, and or always maybe buy some instruments that are a pay grade above or to your surgery, because the last thing you want to do is try to learn an advanced surgery with lousy instruments, right? So if you're trying to jump your skills, you need to be having instruments that are going to help you and not hurt you. So when I look at people getting into oral surgery and implantology, you need to have the right instruments to help back up what you're doing. And I think this is one of those things that I looked at and saw, this is a game changer for implantology. And I think the GP that can, service a lot of these implants and service a lot of these surgeries should seriously be looking at, how can I do things faster and more predictable and better? And this is definitely one of those. Let's talk about the tips here just a moment. I want to dive into what kind of tips there are. Obviously, there's a lot of things people sell, like, hey, we have this kit or that kit based upon procedures. It probably comes with a basic kit or whatever. Just kind of tell me a little bit about the kits, if you could.
Sure. Well, we have the extraction tip kit has 6 tips in it, and like I said, they're all very thin. They're all shaped like small periotomes. So really, more or less, our extraction tips work like a powered periotome. So if you're familiar with how they work, the piezotome is going to work in your hands very easily. Aside from that, we have our bone surgery kit, which are different bone saws and scalpels and scrapers. They're designed for different types of osteotomies. So if you're doing bone block grafting, or if you're harvesting bone, or if you need to remove a tori, the bone surgery kit is great for that. We have 2 sinus elevation kits, or sinus lift kits. We have one that's designed to go from a lateral approach. So if you want to do a lateral approach sinus elevation, we have tips that can do that. We also have a tip kit called the Intralift, which is exclusive to the Cube. It allows you to do an internal sinus lift from the crestal approach using hydrodynamic pressure to elevate the sinus. So there's a procedure to follow with the tips, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's a tip that actually elevates the sinus internally using the water from the device. It's really, really neat. It's predictable. We have clinical studies that show the predictability of that procedure. We have also our ridge split kit, which is a same type of kit, which is unique to us. And it has, 3 tips that are designed to make your longitudinal and then buccal relief cuts. And then there are spreader tips. These tips are actually shaped like spreaders, which gently widen the ridge to reduce the risk of any type of fracture or any type of trauma to the bone there. And then we also have the Piezocision kit, which allows you to do that osteo-assisted orthodontics. And then our crown lengthening kit, which allows you, due to their really, really fine diamond-coated tips, diamond-coated balls and cylinders that really allow you, due to the tactile sense and precision that you get with the Cube handpiece, allows you to move around the tooth to do some crown lengthening, either for aesthetic reasons, or for if you just need more, obviously lengthen the crown in order to place a crown, replacement crown on that tooth. So it's a very versatile machine, and there's over 45 tips for all types of different applications.
Wow. I knew you guys had a couple different kits, but, now that I'm looking at the site when you're going through those are amazing. And the Intralift one's very interesting, because I know a lot of people are doing internal sinus lifts now when can be, and I think that's another great option to have out there and say, look, there's a lot of different ways to do things. This is another thing to have in your arsenal, and might be a good way to do the internal without, having that fear of perforation or not being able to see that perforation. That's a great addition. And I know I've used most of the kits. I need to try that internal lift kit next time I go to the Pathway Clinic, or I guess when I get one of these in my office here relatively soon. I'm going to start knocking those out, because that right there, I think, is something that people are really getting into, is that internal lift. that crestal approach. And then also the ridge split. I know I've used your ridge split kit before, and that one is just it's phenomenal how that just cuts through and spreads that bone. The old days of kind of cutting it with a burr and cranking instruments in and doing that just seems barbaric now when you use these cubes. So I don't. So when you buy one of these cubes, does it come with just like kind of a basic kit, or what does it come with?
So what we're offering right now, if you buy the cube, you'll get an extraction tip kit at no charge.
Okay.
And then we have, other kinds of specials on the other tips and things like that. So we have reps all over. And like I said, we're sold through all the dealers. So, contact your local dealer and they can, give you more information.
Sure. But it comes with kind of a basic oral surgery kit or a basic kit.
Well, since what we saw from our sales is that, by and large, like the most popular tips are the extraction tip kits. And a lot of people are going that way because of the extractions and immediate implants. It's almost becoming like a standard of care that people are doing. So that's the most popular kit right now. So we're offering that at no charge. You can always swap that out. If you didn't want that extraction kit at no charge, we could always swap that out. We do have a regular, it's called the Essential Tip Kit, which has a couple bone surgery kits, one extraction tip, and a couple sinus lift, which will allow you to do kind of everything that, a large number of procedures that the device can do. But, right now it's extraction is what we're kind of focusing on, but, we could swap that out.
Okay. Excellent. So obviously you guys have a complete lineup of your stuff, and you have all the equipment and everything that you have at the ACTEONGroup.com. I'll add a link to that in the show notes. Obviously, you guys are sold through most of the major distributors, so you could get a hold of your local rep in people's area and contact them via that way. As far as training for these, do you guys have any training events, or what do you recommend if people say, look, I'd love to get in on this, but I don't want to go in totally blind? What do you guys have out there for that? Anything available for that?
Well, what we've done this year, and we've done a great job with partnering with a lot of the implant teaching facilities, like Implant Pathways that you're on faculty with Justin Moody. So we sponsor their courses, and we've always kind of worked with people. So sometimes we'll offer a scholarship to go to one of those courses. We've partnered with Zimmer Dental as well. We work with them with their cadaver courses in Parsippany, New Jersey. We have a close partnership with BioHorizons as well. So we can, once you get the device, if you work with us, we can set you up with the education and training that you need. I mean, obviously our rep will come out and train you and the staff on setting the product up and getting you going right away with that. That's standard. But if somebody wants to learn more procedures, practice on, do live patients or work on cadavers, like I said, we work with a lot of different training and education facilities to get you more education. So we can work with you, one-on-one on that and get you with the right person either in your area or somewhere else in the country.
Yeah. So you guys sponsor a lot of surgical training events, and so you would be able to direct someone specifically on what might be best for their needs regionally, nationally, depending what implants or systems or training they would like. You guys have some good network, feelers out there, and can help direct people to that. As like you said, a lot of times there's either live surgical training or cadaver training, or sometimes with the kind of just the basic extraction stuff, having the reps show you what to do and then just going in and going after it. So I think, depending how somebody wants to go, there's lots of options available there. Anything else that you would direct people to that we haven't covered? I know we've kind of gone through a fair amount of material at this point. Is there something that you wanted to cover that I haven't questioned about? I know, we've been through the bulk of the material. I think people know kind of a little bit more about piezo. They know about the cube. They kind of know what it can do, and maybe more getting some thoughts about how they can integrate this in their practice. Where do you encourage people to go for more information, and how should people best get started?
So you mentioned it before. You can go to our website at ACTEONGroup.com. We have the U.S. site. There's a lot of great educational material there. There's educational videos. There's training videos on that website. We also have our ACTEON North America YouTube channel, which has a playlist with all of our Cube videos, which includes instructional videos as well as clinical videos, so you can see the product in action as well, and see how minimally invasive it is. And then, if you want a demonstration, that's accessed again by our website as well. You can access and reach out to your local representative with ACTEON. They can come do a demo in your office. You can even try the product out either on our reps carry models with them. Try it out for yourself on a model, a live piece of bone, or even try it out on a patient.
Yeah, I think if depending what people are looking for, some people like to kind of see stuff first. Some people like to kind of feel things. Some people just want to get it and go in. Some people maybe want to see somebody else use it. I know you guys are probably at a lot of events. What are some of the big events you're at in 2019? Obviously, there's a lot of meetings out there. Where are you guys? What are the big meetings you're hitting this year?
So we'll have our large booth coming up at the CDA in Anaheim. That's the next big show. And then after that, we'll be at the ADA, which is combined with the CDA North in the fall. That's the next time we'll have our large booth. But if you go to our website, you'll see too, with all the different some of the smaller meetings that we're doing as well. We'll be at the AAID later on this year. I think we're sponsoring a hands-on course there with one of our key opinion leaders, John Russo. We'll also be at the AAP meeting as well. We'll have some representation there. So we're at all the major dental meetings coming up, as well as a lot of the specialty meetings involved with implantology as well.
Excellent. So you guys are you're not hard to find. Obviously, it's you work with all the major groups, so you're not hard to buy from. I think the only thing at this point is I think once people get that in their hands, they're going to really see and feel the difference there. I think it's a great instrument. I'm looking forward to getting one going in my practice. I've loved the exposure that I've had to it thus far, and really would encourage people to give you guys a look and see how they can take their surgical skills to the next level. So, with that, I'm going to direct people to the links that we've talked about, and look forward to a continued relationship here, Chip, with you. And we may have to come back another time and talk about some of their products, maybe your 3D imaging and or your air polisher and or other things. But I think today was a good start with the Cube. I think it's a fantastic device, and I encourage people to give you guys a look.
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity today, Dr. Gordon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.